Tonight's the 10th of Teves, and like last year, the 10th of Teves is a Friday. And like last year, we discussed what I think is an issue that very uh, Eretz Yisrael, Torah Eretz Yisraeli. That is, first of all, it's very hard to show people the the proofs, the historical proofs that once upon a time, these minhag fast days used to end at sundown, whereas it's Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur that end at nightfall, Tzeifa Kochavim, and these ones end at the Shkia. So it's very hard to show people that that's an old halachic truth. It's kind of funny what kind of truths are easier to show people and what kind of truths are not. Uh, so I have a few examples of that. That's one of them. There's another one out there. A lot of people know that the Mishnah Berurah tells them that they have to, let's say, finish their afternoon prayers before Plag Mincha if they want to start an early Shabbos, right? They know that one. That's not so clear, luckily. That's I call that the Hakpada, even though, and the Mishnah Berurah does say that, but that's not so clear that that was classically assumed to be the case. But when the Mishnah Berurah tells people, if you're at some sort of early Marav minyan, the Heter, let's say, and Marav is taking place before nightfall, before the stars have come out, so you're not supposed to be saying Kriya Shema. And how many times have we actually attended a minyan where it was Marav before the nightfall, and they didn't leave out Kriya Shema, like the Mishnah Berurah is telling people is the old minhag. I think only once with Rabbi Bar-Hayim we did that. It was a Shabbos, so there's no Kriya Shema with Baruch. That's a funny thing. When the Mishnah Berurah is saying it's like, cut and dry, black and white, old halacha, most people are unaware of it. But when it's something that's relatively new and a hakpada and ahistorical, and there's a lot to argue about it, those were the ones they keep. So it's very strange here. I'm surprised by the lack of literature out there concerning this whole thing with fast days. The Vilna Gaon equates the two. The Vilna Gaon says, just like all along when the sages said and the Rambam said that you're supposed to light your Hanukkah candles at sundown, and that minhag made a comeback. So now people know when you're supposed to light your Hanukkah candles, ideally at sundown. In the same breath, he also says, and that's the same thing with regards to the end of the fast days, but that really hasn't taken off yet. And that issue that I was trying to show people last year, if you are a Shulchan Aruch Jew, the Shulchan Aruch says that every Shabbos of the week, every Shabbos of the year, you're supposed to have an early Shabbos. Tzarich, he uses it, it's as a necessity. It's not an obligation. And the Rambam and Vilna Gaon famously said that, it's not even a necessity, it's an option. But the Shulchan Aruch's option, in any event, is start Shabbos early. Why? Shabbos will start on its own at sundown. So it's your job to make sure to take in the Shabbos sometime before that. How do you do that? Like we saw last year, many different places the Shulchan Aruch writes, by praying the evening prayer. The evening prayer of Shabbos, sometime before sundown, significantly before sundown. Because once it's sundown, that would be its proper time anyways. So you take in Shabbos early. And once one has done so, he can break his fast tomorrow. Those are all very clear and obvious things that are written black and white by the Beis Yosef and endorsed as an option by other poskim. Yet tomorrow, how many times have I heard, even from rabbi types, tomorrow is an exception to the rule. Tomorrow there is no early Shabbos, and even if you took in Shabbos somehow, you found an early Shabbos minyan, you are not supposed to be breaking your fast until the stars come out, even though it's supposed to be sundown. And it's almost unheard of. And then you show them the Prima Godim, like we saw last year. We show them what the Beis Yosef says, but it just doesn't register. So I don't know. I think it's mostly a losing battle. I also find it interesting. The Prima Godim's own way of saying this is almost, I feel like I'm sharing in his frustration. Maybe he was frustrated also. Why? Because he didn't just share it as, here's a halachic fact, something I found in earlier literature. He says, Hevei Yodea. I just like you to know this. It must be that people didn't believe him back then, that he had to say, no, I'm telling you the truth. If you take in Shabbos early tomorrow, the fast is over early, and that's according to the Machmir opinion and understanding of the Gemara. That is, as they say, Shaper Mikre Hashlama. You have to complete the fast, but once it's Shabbos, you can complete the fast. But this year, I'd like to add that I finally found someone who has influence, at least around here, Muhrabi rabbis. Remember said, we used to say that those Muhrabi rabbis, they're independent of traditional Ashkenazic Sephardic dichotomy. For example, they all go to the Temple Mount. They never had a tradition of somehow prohibiting that which is eminently clear as being permissible according to the Torah. So they just go and do that. And Here they follow the most lenient opinion, the Tanaic one, which says you're not supposed to go into Shabbos suffering, afflicted. So break your fast sometime before Shabbos. So I was asking him, wow, local rabbi around here is telling people to do that. He put out YouTube videos. He's always a contrarian. So I was asking him, okay, so how soon before Shabbos are you going to tell people to break their fasts? 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon? What's it going to be? He said, I don't know, around a quarter to four or so. And I thought that's funny because that's basically around Plaga Mincha. He could have just told people except Shabbos then. And also, I think that, and I'd like to argue this with him, so I'm going to go give him a piece of my mind tomorrow morning. Is he telling people to break their fast before davening Mincha? Basically saying, first have a snack, have a drink, and come to Mincha right before Kabbalah Shabbos, because he's going to ruin the Mincha service. If everybody's broken their fast at that point, then they will not have the special fast day Mincha. They were not going to say Anenu, they won't have the Torah reading, they won't have the Haftarah, they won't have Birkat Kohanim, assuming the Kohanim have eaten already also. So they're actually losing out. More than that, aside from I think they're going to be losing out. I don't think that's the understanding. I don't think that's what the Tanaim and the Rishonim who followed them believed was the case. Actually, I think that the understanding is that first they finished their afternoon service, and before Marav and Kabbalah Shabbos, whatever it was, that's when they broke their fast. When they're getting ready for Shabbos, they davened a little bit earlier so that they could still have the afternoon prayers as though part of the fast day. And we saw that the second, more difficult understanding of this was that when it says you break your fast early, they meant also by accepting Shabbos. And that was one other exception. You first accept Shabbos, then you could break your fast early. Okay, that's an interesting idea. Either way, that's what they're going to be doing. I'm surprised they found them. I still haven't found a true, plain old get together at Plaga Mincha and Davin Mariv minyan for breaking the fast tomorrow. The rabbi himself said this is an option. I don't know why he doesn't endorse it and say
Rabbi
don't have.
Grossman?
Yes, sir.
So if one does not bring in Shabbat early, then one's only option for breaking the fast early would be to have some water after Shkia, right?
Well,
Because you can't eat because you haven't said Kiddush, correct?
yeah, there's actually an argument there. Let's say Shabbos happens naturally. You haven't daven Mariv. Shkia happens. So now it's Shabbos, L'chumra at least. So what are you going to do? The Maimonides says that, technically speaking, you could always drink water. Unless you have a din to fast, you could drink water, like before Shacharis every day. And you're not allowed, whereas the main understanding of the Gemara and Psachim and the Yerushalmi is that when Shabbos hits, the first thing you got to do is Kiddush on wine, or halachically wine. That's the first thing you have to drink. And even the Amoraim said, but I'm thirsty. So what? You got to have Kiddush first. Kiddush is the first thing you got to have to start Shabbos. But the Rambam understands that it's saying Kiddush is the first real drink that you have that's not water. Right? He doesn't feel that water was even included in that Gemara. So you could have water, according to the Rambam. Shabbos ends tomorrow. Shabbos comes in on its own. You could have a drink of water before Kiddush. And that's every single week. Whereas most hold that once Shabbos comes in, you're basically fasting until you have Kiddush. And the first thing you drink once Shabbos comes in has to be that cup of wine or grape juice or whatever it may be. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Someone said, what do I do? Well, I don't know. That never really came up. I've always been in shul or whatever when we start Shabbos, and I come home and the first thing I want to do is say Kiddush. So it's never really had that situation where now Kiddush is delayed for 2 hours. So I thought to have a drink of water. That would be the nafkamina. But I think that the Rambam might even be correct in that regard. Most understand it because the Gemara says, yeah, but I'm thirsty. What am I going to drink? Still, you should start with Kiddush. But according to the Rambam, not all the time people are thirsty. They just drink water. That's why it's an
But
exception. The Rambam says,
Rabbi
no.
Grossman, there's also the issue
Yeah,
you might be feeling weak from the fast and want to have a
yeah,
drink of water even before you daven. Mariv.
maybe if it's already after the time. The ironic thing is, look at this. If you have a person who's hypoglycemic, by the way, that means he's got low blood sugar because he is fasting. Drinking water might actually be counterproductive at that point. It'll dilute his blood even more. It won't give him the sugar he needs to get the oomph. Yes, it'll help a little bit with his dehydration, but it might not get the proper effect. Really, if you've been fasting for, I don't know, it's just for many people, it only ends up being that they've been fasting at that point for only about 12 hours or so. If you had a person who ate basically, he ate that right before dawn, you're doing that trick. So it might not be that water's the best thing. It'd be best if you had something that had some sugar in it. So yeah, watch out. Sometimes just drinking water isn't the right thing to do for your body. That is. Okay, where were we? So we discussed that issue, and we mentioned. By the way, there are these people who are going to be. You found them. They're going to be breaking their fast. I'm praying that already tomorrow we could cancel this fast day. We should have some progress in the reconstruction of the temple and achieving the true peace. But I guess not.